Storytelling then is a big part of it. Where do these stories originate in yourself, or can they come from anywhere?
Well, I suppose both. I mean, they come from me, but they come from me, I guess, reacting to everything outside, I suppose, and sort of, I guess. They're, yeah, I mean, they're all stories. I think of them just as. It's always fun to this sort of mixture of complete sort of fantasy and sort of and detachment from yourself, and these sort of little. It's always a mixture of that and these incredibly sort of personal stories as well.
Sure.
It's, you know, I think that's why they're often hard to talk about, because I often can't separate which is which. You know, it just. There's a lot of singing from these sort of strange perspectives of a endangered Mexican salamander, or a a young mother to be, or these are all or a bird. You know, these are all they're all sort of imaginative,
Sure.
but they come from a meaningful place, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, that was really long-winded.
No, that's fair enough.
Meaningless and long-winded. That's good.
Well, if you take that in mind, what track on the record then was lyrically, or in terms of words, the most difficult to write for you, the most difficult to get together?
I mean, they're all difficult, sort of. I mean, there's nothing. I never find them difficult. Because it's that's really what I love the most, I guess, is that part is so so special for me. That so yeah, even when it's kind of difficult, it doesn't feel difficult in the way that more mundane things would feel. Organizing sort of schedules to meet up and record, that stuff I find difficult and dull, and actually getting to write lyrics is just it's the most beautiful part of it for me, really.
In that sense, do you think, maybe I'm understanding this wrong, but do you write better when things are tough and then maybe a bit harder?
When things are what, sorry?
A bit harder, the times are a bit harder? Or?
Yeah, I think maybe. I mean, that as well is a bit of a mystery. I thought for a while, it sort of makes sense, doesn't it, that if you're only you would write more in times of crisis or pain or something. But I haven't always found that to be the case as well. I think often that's quite distracting, and there's a certain stillness, I think, that I always need, a certain calm, even if you're in amongst strange things going on. I think you have to find those little moments to actually be able to focus on something. Whenever I've been in the midst of sort of overwhelming any sort of boring personal shit, it doesn't make me generally want to sit down and write a song. So you're just too. It's usually a few days after, and you've sort of got a bit of perspective, I guess, maybe. But actually, that's not true. I think I just totally made that up. I think there have been times as well where things come out of that. So yeah, I mean, really, I'm the wrong person to talk to. That's that's what you should get out of this interview. I have a few ideas, but I'm not positive. Maybe it'd be good to get like a round table of songwriters, I think, and have everyone. I think it'd just be impossible to come to any kind of consensus about how to go about things, though. Everyone has completely different
And in a
ideas.
sense, every song comes together in a different way from the next. So okay.
Yeah, it's it makes it it makes it hard to do certain things as well. Because you're often offered things of like, oh, can you write a song for this thing or whatever. I often just can't. I sort of have to hope, because I have a lot of spare songs. If anyone was ever like for a movie or whatever, can you write a song that's sort of about this or whatever? I wouldn't know where to start to do that. I sort of always have to rely on having to have like written something previously, and then I can secretly sort of go, ah yes, what about this? Totally fits what you're asking for. Yeah, it's an odd thing.
Well, that's interesting because I came across. Well, obviously, you're going to be in Twin Peaks, and also I think a bunch of directors have spoken out in support of the music you make. So in that sense, yeah, how do you approach those things? Is it and especially Twin Peaks now? How do you approach that? Do you have some material already ready for it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about Twin
Okay,
Peaks
fair
at all, which sort of sucks because it'd be quite fun to in interviews. But the like Sorrentino one, that Il Divo movie, you know, that was just he used Nux Vomica, which had already been around for you know a year or so. Yeah, various other directors that we've never written, you know, on spec.
Okay.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Thank you.
They've always just used things that already existed, so that's way easier, and you know that works for me totally. But I don't know, like I've been writing this musical for about 3 years, but I don't know if it'll ever go anywhere. But that's been interesting as well as a different sort of approach where you've actually got like you've got a narrative that you're fitting these songs around, and but yeah, it's sort of funny just watching myself have to do that where you're like, okay, we need a song for that. But I actually can't do it. I have to just sort of trick myself into finding songs for it that might fit, and then you know it's a constant having to fool myself constantly in order to bring any order to anything.
So is this a very liberating time then for you because the album is finished and that part of it is over, or is this creative process what you enjoy the most?
Yeah, I mean it's the writing is definitely my favorite part. I think the touring is great as well. That's really what I'm most hungry for now, is just to get out and actually play them in front of people. Most of the record we've never played in front of anyone ever, which yeah, so it's sort of, I'm really dying to get to that part. Though this has been really nice this year, you know, usually I was saying before, like interviews I used to hate interviews. I couldn't really deal with it at all, and now it feels it's quite nice to sort of feel like, oh, okay, you're doing the little lap because you finished this thing and talking about this thing that you're proud of, and I'm sort of all right with that. Yeah, it's been a long 3 years, so it's nice for people to hear it. Actually, that is nice. I wasn't sure if I'd care or if it would just make me anxious, but it's nice actually to.
So no nerves or.
No, suspiciously, no nerves about it right now.
Okay.
Usually I've been pretty terrified. I think because we had so much time, whether people like it or they don't get it or whatever, they're just not into it. I feel very. I really feel like I couldn't have. It's exactly what I wanted to make, which is a nice feeling. Where you just sort of like, okay, well, oh, you know, you think it's a piece of shit, that's totally fine. I'm totally into it. So, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because no one's really heard it yet as well, you know. So I'd be curious to see if people come along with me or not, I guess.
And then, well, you mentioned you're excited now to start playing live again. And then earlier you also mentioned that connection with the audience, with making them able to connect to your songs. So how important, well, there's a lot of has been written about your performance and that you get into it. There's a certain element to it. So how do you experience this?
How do I experience the live performance?
The live performance and trying to form that connection with the audience. Is it a conscious thing when you're on stage?
No, I think it's a very again, just a really interesting part of it where you're like trying to take a whole room of people with you to this strange sort of mental place. It's yeah, I've heard it described before as that kind of where you feel the most yourself,
okay,
and the least yourself of any point in your life. You know, so it's an amazing feeling. Yeah, and a mystery in and of itself as well, that you're constantly trying to sort of get greater control over, I guess. And but yeah, it's great. It's cool to have a whole new record as well that we can play. We've got 5 records to choose from now, which is a nice feeling.
And approaching these songs now for the live shows, do you find different things in them because you have to translate them to being able to play them live?
Sorry, you'd have to repeat that again.
Do you discover new things in the tracks now because you have to translate them for the live
Oh, I
shows?
see. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we haven't actually started rehearsing yet because the tour is not for a few more months. But yeah, we'll start in a few weeks, and yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's the real test. I think there are songs that we've ended up playing basically in every show that I didn't necessarily think would be the case, but they've grown more and more through playing them live, and yes, I'm sure opinions will change on them as we.
Can you give me an example of that, of a song that you've gotten closer to because of playing it live?
Yeah, what would be a good? Yeah, there's a few. I suppose like like Nux Vomica actually. You know, that was one when we first started touring. You know, we play occasionally because it's a bit of a sort of acquired taste, that one, and you know, now it's become a complete kind of staple in the set that people would give us an incredibly hard time about not playing. So, you know, and it's one of the most enjoyable ones to play as well. You know, yeah, there's a few like that, I guess. But I think having this new record's going to change that around as well. Where, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Fair enough.
Where we get to.
Finally, then the album is called Total Depravity. Why this title?
It just sort of tied the room together, you know. It had a nice ring to it. It's obviously the song title first, and it's sort of yeah. There's a lot of different interpretations of it. I think that I wouldn't want to get in the way of. I think it paired nicely with the cover as well, you know, which is always a nice thing. But,
in that sense, does the track have a certain significance, or is it just the title?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it has a. There's a lot of. It seemed like a common theme, and I think it's certainly a theme of the world around us at the moment. It felt like an appropriate title. Yeah.
Does it help then writing songs about these, well, the way the world is now at the moment?
Yeah,
Does it
honestly,
kind of?
yeah, you know, that stuff. It's a strange time, isn't it? And it's I think whenever things, again, I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, but I would say, in times of sort of complete confusion, they've offered me always this, and as a fan of music as well, I guess they're the times that there's something fantastically grounding about music, as well as, you know, fantastically elevating. And yeah, in times of confusion, get the piano out. I think that's always it's a good rule of thumb.
I have one more question. Can you name me a song that you haven't written yourself that gives you this feeling? This whenever you're not feeling very good, you turn to a certain song or an artist.
I mean, there's so many. I mean, yeah, this has always been my problem with like sad, like when people call it sort of sad music or like depressing music or whatever, because that's like it's the stuff that's usually called that is like the most, you know, enlivening. So, you know, people like Leonard Cohen and Nina Simone and, you know, these sort of things. It's usually their sort of saddest songs. I guess they're usually the ones that, oh, it's a beautiful day out there, you know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's too many to name. Absolutely, yeah. But,
Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
Very cool.